Welcome to the Football Guys Dynasty Show. It's me, your favorite professional nerd, Jagger May, and then with me, as always, is our Dynasty captain, Jeff Bell. And as promised, we brought back Russ Fisher from Trade Addicts. Since we're going to have an actual trade show, Russ, why don't you plug your show real quick?
Oh, Trade Addicts podcast. We record on Tuesdays. It's whenever I get unlazy enough to quote unquote edit or whatever you call whatever I do and put it out. Usually around Thursdays. We talk about there's 11 Trade Addicts leagues, so we talk about all of the trades that go down every single week and a lot of the listener questions. We get a bunch of listener questions during the week for the shows as well. So it's just good old fun time.
Yeah. One of the earliest pods I got guested on. I love it. And it's like, to be honest, you guys love this show. Their entire show is built around that. So it's definitely a good place to talk strategy. They can freelance and talk long and do all this stuff that sometimes we don't do because we have to game the system. And I'm jealous of that.
Oh
and
yeah,
I
we
love
have
that
no
for you.
system. We've had both 40-minute episodes and an hour and 40-minute episodes, depending on how the conversation's going.
Anytime I've been on, I'm like, I've literally told like Amy, my fiance, I'm like, she's like, how long is this pod going to be? I'm like, as long as till we're done.
Until I'm ready to fall asleep. That's usually I end every show by saying good night because we start recording at 9:30 and it's just like I'm old. I need to go to bed.
Yeah. And speaking of, we'll hop right into it. Puka Nacua is the new hotness right now. By new hotness, I mean he's always been good. Everyone just forgot, and he's back. And like I said, I've been woefully passive on going out and acquiring him. Jeff, I know you're big on it's both of them over there in the Rams. Thomas, he sent Josh Downs, Bucky Irving, and a 25 first for Puka Nacua. I love all those assets. Josh Downs, Bucky Irving, and a 25 first. But Puka Nacua is easily the best player in that trade. Which side of this do you like?
I mean, I would have probably have preferred to get a third back with Puka, so that I really like to be able to get like that back end pick, like the Bill Belichick thought of like, well, I'll trade you my second, but I want that fifth back. So like I'm still standing there, but I like the Nacua side probably. I think that this is one of those that I think when you roll it all up between Downs, Irving, and a first, the value might be more than Puka, but when you start to assign, well, you still get that roster spot that can be another player, and you can do all these things, and Nakua's just taking one spot in your roster. The value of the Nacua side can outweigh those different pieces.
Yeah. I think it's a good trade for both sides, depending. Like if you, let's say you got a rebuilding or you got an orphan, and I've had some ugly orphans, and you're like, man, only thing I have is Puka Nacua and a bunch of thirds. This is what I would do to get, like, I know that sucks, but you kind of have to start that rebuild somewhere. Which side of this trade are you on, Russ?
Again, depending on the situation, because like what you said is absolutely true. It would have to. Well, I'm going to say I'm on the Puka side because it would have to be a very specific situation for me to trade Puka for this. If I'm trading away a stud like Puka, I want something coming back that I feel very solid about. And we talked about Bucky Irving and how he's good in a good offense, but he's not a guy yet. He very well can be, and so could Josh Downs. He can be. Anthony Richardson, and a first is nice. Not knowing where this first is a little bit iffy as well. But like, if I'm competing and you're telling me I can give these three guys that make my lineup for a dude that's gonna win me a week or two every once in a while, I'm absolutely in for Puka on this side.
Yeah, like I said, it genuinely, generally, you want the best player, and that makes a lot of sense here. And you've kind of consolidated, like you said, a lot of maybes into like, here's a guy that if he is healthy, he's gonna live right here. Yeah, he's gonna live here in my wide receiver 1 or 2 spot, depending on what you paid for him. But like I said, I get where people's like, I would never trade Patrick Mahomes. Man, I've tried to trade Patrick. Most of the orphans I had, like especially those early COVID league ones, all the orphans I had were Patrick Mahomes rosters, stuff like that, where it's just like I traded my soul for Patrick Mahomes, and now this team sucks and I can't get out. So that's, and I think a lot of cases you got to trade your best guy. Then we have another one that is a Jeff trade. Did you receive Drake May?
Which side do you think I did in this trade?
Okay, well, okay. One side is Drake May, the other side is Puka Nacua, Tank Bigsby, and a third. I think that you bought Puka Nacua.
I did buy Puka Nacua. So some
Yeah.
context on this team. So I have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I had the 102, was holding the 102 in last year's rookie draft, and I thought I was going to have Marvin Harrison Jr., and it ended up being Caleb Williams. Because Marvin Harrison Jr. went number one, and so now I have Caleb Williams on the team. I had a later first that ended up being Drake May. He fell a little bit further than expected. I had another pick that ended up being Michael Penix on this team, and then I also had Bryce Young on this team, and so I had a lot of quarterbacks. And well, somebody came to me, so I had I had Justin Herbert back at the rookie draft with all these influx of rookie quarterbacks. I flipped Justin Herbert for Jamar Chase, so I did that trade to move Herbert for Chase, and it was right before like the offseason fade on Herbert hit, and I was thrilled with that. And so I had Lamar, and then I was running out, Caleb or was running out Drake May, whoever might have been that week, and I was 9-1. And somebody came to me; they wanted to roll their team over. They offered me Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid, and I gave them my next 3 firsts and my next 3 seconds. So one of those pick set is going to be very, very late because my team is now 11-1, and then I have 2 future years. And so when I got Josh Allen on this team, I still had a lot of quarterbacks, and so I decided let's put Drake May on the block. Let's see what can come back. I got an initial offer, Drake May for Puka straight up. I asked for Tank Bigsby in a third, just kind of to spice it up a little bit, and that was accepted. So, that was my pivot. So I was able to put Chase, Puka, Rashee Rice, Devontae Smith, Drake London, Josh Downs is my wide receiver group. I've got Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson at quarterback. I've got Bijan Robinson. I added Dalton Kincaid. I had Cade Otton at tight end previously, so added Kincaid to that mix. And so I thought it was a pretty strong position here to pivot off and to add one more strong receiver into my weekly lineup.
Not even humble bragging at that point.
Yeah.
So you're not even humble bragging at that point. You're just
seems pretty good.
Look how good I am, guys. Look how good.
Yeah. Add in depth, because I'm like, if you would have sent me this trade or sent me the counter, I'm like, no, I think this is fine. And like you probably would have like accepted it, like depending, because like Puka and Drake May, I think that's a fair trade, to be honest. I think they're going to be like in startups, they're probably going to be going back to back around that same range, depending, because like I know right now I'm not gonna say no to Puka ever again, and he's on my list to move up in my rankings, because I saw like a tweet that he's closer to Marvin Harrison than he is to Justin Jefferson, and I don't and that's wrong, and I think that's the way to look at it. I think he should be closer to the dynasty wide receiver 5. I know I have told you that he might not be the wide receiver 5, and that is wrong. That is 100% wrong, and I'm sorry. Good job, Jeff. You should make a show and do this professionally. Andrew Krause from Blue Sky, another Puka Nacua trade. Like I said, everyone's hot for Puka Nacua now. I'm guessing he received Puka in a 25 second. He sold Chris Olave, Bucky Irving, a 26 first and a 27 second. This is Puka pretty. I don't know. This Puka pretty easy. That 26 first I can
trade. This is we moved it to a 26 first, so we needed to beef up the wide receiver. So we went from Downs to Olave, and then we got the second back, so we needed to throw it to 27. Really? Why? That's so far away. Like this trade is very, very, very similar. It even has one of the same players in it. So like to me, this is again still very easily Puka, especially with Olave being whatever's going on with Olave right now.
Yeah. Again, I would only do this trade if I was rebuilding and I had a bad roster.
Yes.
And I wouldn't give up a 20. I don't know. I guess 25 seconds fine for Bucky Irving and Olave, but I love the Puka side of this as well. And like a 26 first, I can just get that back. That's what I always think. I can get that back later. It is real, and I would like to get them, and you should always buy picks ahead of time because they'll never be cheaper. Throw those in. I understand that. But when you're buying a Puka Nacua player, That's not real. You can go get that first later. You can get a different first later. And you got Puka, so you're thinking, man, that's probably going to be a late first if I'm a smart player and I listen to Trade Addicts and the Football Guys Dynasty show. So, like I think you probably made out pretty well.
I think it doesn't always hold up, but a general rule of thumb is when you've got an elite player and the pieces that you're giving up, if it would have been laughed at like 3 months ago, 2 months ago to even make the offer, and it's still probably going to be the elite player 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, most of the time you'll feel better because you
could you imagine offering Josh Downs, Bucky Irving, and a future first for Puka, looking like the way Puka looks in July? Like somebody would have laughed at you if you would have done that offer.
Yeah, and another thing too is like you're trading $1 million for like Bitcoin. If that for $1 million in Bitcoin, it's like cool. You had set $1 million that you didn't have to worry about. Now, if like someone sends a tweet or something happens, that's gonna tank, and you don't know where that's at. And that's why that's like just not a gamble sometimes. Like it's just like Puka's just a much more stable asset. You just know he's good. He broke rookie records, and like I just feel stupid every day,
But you look good.
Enough. Well, thank you. Next, we have a Pat Mahomes trade here by Bobby Bragg, 2Gs. Maybe that's his last name. Maybe it's he's actually bragging here, but he received Patrick Mahomes and he sent Brandon Ayuk a 25 second and a 25 third.
Do we know the details of this league? Is this a super flex league?
Yeah, it's a 12-team Dynasty super flex league.
Oh, it says it right there. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Wow, this is Patrick Mahomes. Like, I don't care that Patrick Mahomes isn't doing Patrick Mahomes things. Neither was Ayuk before he got hurt. Let's just put that out there. And then the second and the third, when you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, doesn't even need to be involved in this. It's like they don't weigh in the trade value of this. So this might as well just be Mahomes for Ayuk. Like, this is so easily Mahomes in any way, shape, or form, in every situation, in every.
Yeah, just a slam dunk there. As much as I said, yeah, you could trade Patrick Mahomes if you need to. Don't do this.
Not like this.
Yeah, that's not how you do it. This, I know you guys get mad at obvious trades, but somebody needed to hear this, obviously, because someone did this trade.
Because it's real. It actually happened. So somebody made that decision. Somebody hit that accept or send button when maybe now they'll learn to know better for next time.
Yeah.
I know in October in the content game, there was a lot of Patrick Mahomes has done this over his last 17 games, and it's not a quarterback. Patrick Mahomes since week 8 has been Patrick Mahomes. Since week 8, he's averaging 21 fantasy points per game. He is doing the Patrick Mahomes things again. He's been quarterback 8 if you don't take in the bye into effect. Well, if he's been quarterback 3 if you don't take the bye into account, but he's been quarterback 8 if you kind of look at per game scoring, and at 21 points, you're kind of, there's that tier of you've got Jalen Hurts, you've got Josh Allen, you've got Lamar Jackson at about 24 plus points per game, and then that quarterback 1 tier of 21 points is right there with all the rest of the guys. So Patrick Mahomes is doing pretty much exactly what we thought he would be doing as Patrick Mahomes. He's just not doing the 55 touchdown Patrick Mahomes thing. So I think that, and again, that's been since week 8. So now we're at 5 weeks of that stacking.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
by Patrick Mahomes, if this is the price still.
If these are the prices, yeah, he'll win you football games, and again, he'll have a job, guys. Like if there's anyone in the league who's going to have a job, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. Like he'll be the last guy to get fired in the NFL. If let's say something happens and some theoretical situation where this makes sense, what happened, Patrick Mahomes will have that job security. All right, before we go any further, we got to pay some bills. Like I've said, guys, Black Friday coming up. We have 20% off all of our subscriptions and our merch. You can get a cool jacket like I have. You can get a hat. You can get a koozie. You can get a beer glass that talks about you being drunk and talking about tight ends. We have everything that you want. Most importantly, again, our our content is on sale right now for 20% off. Go get a year subscription. Feel good about yourself, especially if you're a dynasty player. We're going to have that rookie content going up. So go to footballguys.com/plans and like, subscribe. Audio people, give us some love there. It really appreciates us. We really appreciate it. It helps feed my family, keeps clothes on Jeff's kids' backs, helps us afford guests like Russ. Like he's a big budget guy. Like and we need that money to pay him to do this.
It's the only reason I'm here. It's fine.
Yeah. With that being said, Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Wow, is that kid good? Yeah, guys, yards per route run, bros. You got to take this L. Is he the alpha now? Are we going to use that word here? Is he going to be the alpha in Seattle? Because our buddy Mike Cash, new football guy, we'll have him on next week.
Good
News
dude.
to Jeff as well. One of my favorite people in the world. He bought Jaxon Smith-Njigba for $225 first. That's 10 toes down. He's a good player. I'm assuming they're late. Russ, where are you at on this?
I wish I had the chutzpah to pull this off because I've been trying to grab a lot of JSN anywhere I can. I always get stuck in these situations where in these draft classes where there's two wide receivers next to each other that I end up liking both of them too much. Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle, Addison and Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and then this past year with Worthy and Brian Thomas Jr. to where I try in that first year, all I did was draft Devonta Smith, and then I realized how wrong I was quickly, and then I had to pay the real price for Jalen Waddle. Ever since then, I haven't let myself recreate that issue. And that's where I am with Smith-Njigba and Addison, where I have a very even share of both of them. And now I want more of both of them. But part of me is like, man, I wish I just drafted all JSN right now because this is what I believed in. This is what I was ready for. And the real joke about is he the alpha is the answer is no. Look at DK Metcalf. He's an alpha. That's what he is. That's what he does. That's what he may literally have been born to do. But that's not what JSN needs to be. That's not what he is. He doesn't. No, he's not. But that doesn't mean he's not going to get more targets, more yards, and maybe more touchdowns. I mean, just because the real idea of an alpha is the X receiver. It's a position. It's one of the wide receiver positions, and that's what DK plays. And that usually just means running a lot more 9 routes. Just go far fast and jump over people to catch the ball.
Yeah.
If you're telling me that if this is a mid and a late first, I would very easily send these for JSN because I firmly believe, even though there is going to be some good wide receivers coming in this class, if we're talking 2 later dart throws, I think JSN is better than the both of those shots. If you're telling me one of these is top 5, is maybe number 4 or 5 looking, and then I have to cringe while I watch someone else draft like Tet McMillan instead, and it's just like, but I'll still be thrilled to have JSN on my team.
Yeah. Jeff, are you taking the player?
Yeah, I mean, assuming, like you said, with Mike, and we're excited to have him on board, I would assume at least one of these picks are later, if not both of these picks being later. And that's where I would definitely take Smith-Njigba. I think, Russ, you made some great points there. And really to take the 2 first for Jaxon Smith-Njigba, one, I get asked all the time, would you give up first for this player? Jaxon Smith-Njigba is the type that I would give first for, or like Zay Flowers, something like that. A year 2, year 3 wide receiver that I think is going to be elite for the next 6+ years or so. That is a cornerstone. That's what I give first for. I don't give first for Mike Evans, a 30-year-old receiver that maybe I'll win a championship with him this year. And then after that, I don't know what I'm doing with him. I don't give first for those types of deals. This is what I give first for, and I think this is a strong deal. I think Russ, you made another great point talking about the X receiver, and we haven't seen a lot of X receivers that really get a lot of volume, and that's the biggest thing. Whereas Jaxon Smith-Njigba's game is very much built on the players that do get volume within an NFL offense. They've utilized him in the short to intermediate area, quick passes, get the ball in his hands, allow him to create. Those are just volume vacuums. And then we've also seen him make plays down the field and when given opportunity. And the way that I think if you rewind a month ago, I'm sure we probably talked about Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and the way he was able to get downfield in that one game that DK Metcalf was out really showed and unlocked a different area of his game. And that was the type of thing that the Seahawks had to say, oh, yeah, we do have this in here. And maybe we've seen it in practice. Now we've seen it in the game. We have to go back to this. That opens up everything for Smith-Njigba. And that creates big yardage games, that creates touchdowns, that creates high volume receiving games. And to take 2 firsts for that type of a player, I mean, one of them has to be as good as Smith-Njigba, assuming that Smith-Njigba is now going to be a top 10-ish dynasty asset. And really, 2 of them have to be at least starting. Well, you have to hit both of those picks to make this worth doing that trade, I think.
Yeah, and basically, if these are late, like you got to hope that Evan Stewart gets like a good landing spot. And then like, I love Xavier Restrepo, but you got to think his role would be a worse Jaxon Smith-Njigba, if you really think about it in NFL. So yeah, I definitely like this side of the trade. Our next one, Sam LaPorta. Frickin' Chucker on Twitter. That's a fun one. I intentionally left off your real name because your handle is just so much better. He received Sam LaPorta for Travis Kelce. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. I think this works for both sides. Like, I'm assuming that you are rebuilding or something like that, or maybe not as competitive and you just want to get younger. And Travis Kelce I think he's going to be productive until he's done, until he wants to ride off into the sunset with Taylor Swift, or he gets dumped and wants to ride off to the bar or something. But Sam LaPorta, I think, is just a good player. And again, he's just stuck in an offense with good players. And so that means sometimes it's just not him. So I think this is a fair trade, both sides. Russ, I'm assuming you agree.
Yeah, of course, whenever you can trade a young tight end for the tight end 2 on his team, because Noah Gray clearly tight end 1, those touchdowns. No, this is absolutely a very fair trade. This is a trade that would have been maybe a little iffier before the season. Like, one of what Jeff was saying before, if it would have been laughed at 3 months ago, maybe you don't do it now. But I think we have a new reality for both of these players. Everything you guys have been saying about Detroit is absolutely true. They just don't need to pass the ball like they did in prior years. And that has really been LaPorta's problem more than anyone else on the team. And Kelce has his ups and downs, but he's still going to outscore LaPorta for the rest of the season anyway. So this is absolutely competing versus rebuilding. This is perfectly fine.
Yep. Anything else, Jeff?
No, I think I would probably want to get like a late pick back if I'm giving up Kelce for the dynasty value of LaPorta, hypothetically. But I understand if you're going for it and you want that boost in tight end, and we don't know where the scoring breaks down. If this is a tight end premium league, then maybe it makes it even that much more important. But yeah, I think that Russ nailed it. And we talked about previously the volume concerns with Detroit's offense.
That's a very good point, though. You're losing like 40 years of age by going from LaPorta to Kelce. So getting that late pick just so you can have you have that feeling of youth on your team still because of that 3rd rounder. So you're right. I get that. I get that for sure.
Yep. And we'll end it right there, folks. Russ, want to thank you again for your time. Me and Jeff will actually be joining you tomorrow on your show, and that'll be out whenever you get it out, and we're looking forward to that. As always, I'm Jagger May. That's Jeff. We'll see you next week. You guys have fun on Thanksgiving. Don't talk politics, watch football, eat, take a nap. Love you. Have a good one.